Hey, remember Game of Thrones Season 8? Yeah, me neither. Shame they never ended up finishing that show, so weird. But let's imagine if they did and the ending was bad. Well, this new Game of Thrones game promises to give you a completely new what-if ending. Let's check it out.
You may think you know how the game is played. But this is not the game you know. This is your legacy. You decide who wins and who dies.
So War for Westeros is another PC-only title, but this time it'll be our second dedicated RTS game right after Genesis, which was absolute dog shit. And while I'll admit I'm a bit starved for another game set in this world, after King's Road, I must say I am cautiously optimistic. By the way, stay tuned for a review on that game, it's coming. But War for Westeros is being developed by PlaySide Studios. If you've never heard of them, same here, neither have I, and it'll include both single-player campaign and multiplayer. Here's the official description on their website. In War for Westeros, players will lead the armies of House Stark, House Lannister, House Targaryen, or the Night King in ruthless, free-for-all battles where trust is fleeting and power is everything. Engaging in epic real-time strategy battles, forgiving strategic alliances, and weaving deceit against rival forces will be key. Each faction offers deeply asymmetric strategies, with signature heroes, armies, and mechanics forged from the brutal legacy of Westeros. Players can deploy infantry, cavalry, siege engines, giants, and dragons to break enemy lines as they work to outplay and outmaneuver rivals with inspiring hero abilities and the ruthless instincts of a true war commander. Scrolling down here through their website, we can see a bit more of the game. The factions we'll get to play seem a bit bland. It's the usual Stark, Lannister, Targaryen, and Night King. I expected the first three, but not Night King, which will be interesting. The tagline here reads, "Call your banners. You lead armies of House Stark, Lannister, raise the army of the dead. As Night King himself, choose your banner and rewrite the fate of the realm." So that right there is why I said the what-if ending. And also, many times RTS games like this will have a faction ending. As someone who has played a lot of the Total War games, their Warhammer Fantasy series specifically has these with whatever group you decide to play as and win the whole thing. I'll get back to Total War in a minute. The next part here reads, "Wage a war across Westeros. Take command in brutal real-time battles across the fields of Westeros. Deploy infantry, cavalry, siege engines, giants, and dragons to break enemy lines and hold your own." So the dragons, again, we saw that in Game of Thrones Genesis, which is kind of interesting, and dragons, okay. Giants, on the other hand, that's interesting. I kind of like that. Siege engines, I expect every army to kind of have that. Again, like with Total War, Warhammer, I know some of the factions have dragons, some of them have giants, like the Beastmen and the Orcs, but everyone should have siege engines. So I wonder if Lannister gets siege engines, Stark gets giants, Targaryens gets dragons, which seems to be the play here. Claim the Iron Throne. Play solo or multiplayer, okay? To outwit your foes in a bloody campaign across the Seven Kingdoms. Re-envision the most iconic battles and turning points from the Game of Thrones series. So I am wondering if they have like a scenario type mode where we get to relive the Battle of Bastards or the Siege of King's Landing at the very end, so on and so forth. And here we can see some screenshots from the game. And I'll say this, never judge a book by its cover, of course, but these screenshots are not exactly inspiring me to pre-order. The game looks like that Game of Thrones game they put out a few years back, where you see it as an ad, back where endless zombie hordes come at you and you have to pick up power-ups with your squad, grow them, or build fortifications to hold them off. Essentially a shitty mobile game. It doesn't look like the wide battlefield I'm used to seeing in the Total War games, of which I love Shogun 2 and Rome. It doesn't look like that here. For some reason, it looks very confined, and I don't know why. Now, I looked up developer PlaySide Studios, and they don't seem to have a lot of games under their belt, let alone any titles I'm familiar with, so this may be another situation where Warner Brothers is giving the IP to anybody who can make it as quickly as possible, with no real substance or meat behind it, which explains King's Road. And I almost don't blame them, considering just this week they canceled several games that were in development for years, with no real progress, so that's a lot of money down the sink, and it's just nothing to show for it. But also at the same time, having just finished Baldur's Gate 3 for a third time on Honor Mode, and am now going through Expedition 33, a good game takes time to cook. And it doesn't seem like Warner Brothers wants to wait for something good. They want something with the name in the title with enough bullshit in there to keep you coming back again and again, which, again, King's Road. So we'll see how this plays out. And for those of you wondering, because I keep mentioning King's Road constantly, is it really that bad? It's not that bad. It's just so bland and mediocre that if I had to pay money for this, I'd be very upset. I would be calling my bank and asking for them to charge back this, because that game, I'm glad it's free to play. Anyone can download it and play it. But there's so much time wasting here. Very beautiful game, and I like that they put a lot of effort into it to the point where this looks very different than the other Ice and Fire games, but also at the same time, it looks pretty, but there's nothing in there. It's a very nice book cover, but once you open it, there's not that much in there. And I gotta say, before I sign off, I really hope King's Road is not the first of many examples of what Warner Bros. Wants to do with the Game of Thrones IP, because if it is, we're in for a rough time. And as for War for Westeros, let me know what you guys thought of the trailer. Do you plan on playing it? Let me know, because I might go into it. I'll try and drag Preston on it with me, or I'll drag one of you guys with me on there, and we'll do dueling campaigns or something. It's a shame they don't have more houses to play from, and I think those will either be DLC or that's it, just the 4, which sucks, but would make sense. Again, I wish the Total War guys were doing this, but what you gonna do? As always, thank you for watching. Again, let me know what you thought of the trailer, and I'll see you all next time. Have a good one.